It's only about 9 o'clock, but I've already had to come in from outside to escape the heat. Probably outside it's already 32, 33 degrees. So this place is called Meilanhu. In Chinese means like beautiful flower lake. It is though, in fact, based on Mälaren, which is the lake upon which Stockholm sits in Sweden. The town is based on a town just outside of Stockholm, which is called Sigtuna. That's one of the oldest towns in Sweden. It was built in 980 AD. When the Shanghai government wanted to build this place, they actually kind of based it on that to give it more of an authentic feel. It's up to you whether you think it feels authentic or not. This was all part of Shanghai's One City, Nine Towns project, which was part of the 2001 5-year plan. The idea was that they wanted to reallocate people from the city centre to the 9 different districts in Shanghai. About 500,000 people were planned to be moved. What their idea was that in every district there would be one European-style town built. There were 9 of these towns. Most people would say that these projects were a complete waste of time. Some of the projects never got started, some of the projects went bust, and some of them are still ghost towns. Probably the 2 most successful, Thames towns, basically a British town, probably the most successful of all, Scandinavian town. Problem was, when they built the villas around here, there was a rush of buyers, and some of them were changing hands for like $780,000. That completely went against the idea that they were going to provide low-cost housing in the surrounding areas. It's odd as you go around this town because you actually see a lot of very fancy cars. There is also supposed to be an imitation of the Icelandic parliament somewhere, but I've not been able to find that. The Icelandic parliament was built in 920 AD, and I think it's called Alþingi. Also, there should be a Little Mermaid around here as well. The Little Mermaid was actually from Copenhagen in Denmark. Not very high score on authenticity there. Apparently, this place is kind of a party town at night as well, but it's too hot for me to hang around all day to check that out. As well as all the Scandinavian style architecture around here, there is of course a lot of this very generic tourist junk, like this love sign. Very Instagram, I suppose. Where are you going with those dreadlocks? I think part of the reason that Mälaren succeeded where the other towns did not, there's actually a lot of international brands here, there's a lot of restaurants here, there's a lot of coffee shops here. It's all kind of set up for success already. You see we've got Popeyes, Papa John's, Dairy Queen, McDonald's. What the f did I just sit in? Starbucks, and tons of coffee shops. I found that the town itself is a little bit dull, but I can see that just up here there seems to be 2 palace, castle looking buildings, so I'm going to go and check those out. I wonder what they are. You can see they got Oxford Street, lots of Why My drivers here. It's so quiet here. The toilets here are uncharacteristically clean. You can see there's a picture of Westminster Abbey inside the toilet. Or is that the Houses of Parliament? I'm not sure. Should I be offended or not? I don't care. It's a bit of a strange mashup. Look, there's like Tudor style, and then, oh, it seems to be a cigar shop. Oh yeah, lots of cigars. cigar shop. And then, of course, they are advertising with Winston Churchill, maybe the most famous cigar smoker in the world, I suppose. And then durian. You can kind of think that this is the centerpiece of Thames Town. It's an imitation of Christ Church just outside Bristol in the UK. On the map it says that this is a Catholic church because Catholicism is really the only kind of Christianity which is accepted in China. I got in trouble a little bit before online because I suggested that Chinese couple, Christian or not Catholic, having white weddings in churches like this, that these kind of weddings were fake, and a lot of people were offended by that, but I still hold the line that that is a kind of fake wedding. If you want to see another chapel which is based on a cathedral in Florence where lots of people have these weddings, you can see it in the top right hand corner. That's what sparked off the debate before. Right now it's under renovation, but I think I actually like it better like this. A lot of the architecture here actually looks very authentic, and that's because they spent billions of yuan to make this place look as authentic as possible. They actually employed a British architectural firm called Atkins to build this whole area. Since Atkins was bought out, there haven't really been any renovations or updates, so it's kind of been mashed together with a more Chinese style now. There's only one gravestone here though. Chinese people are a bit weird when it comes to cemeteries and graveyards. They don't like being reminded of where they are. They tend to keep them on the outside of cities, away from where they're living. But you know, like that's a big difference. In England, we tend to keep it more central, maybe in graveyards, in churches and cathedrals. So we weren't able to find the traditional fish and chip shop, which is based on a real fish and chip shop in Lyme Regis in England. But we were able to find this other restaurant, which has got fish and chips, and it looks pretty good. It's a little bit expensive. It's 88 yuan. How many dollars is that? How many pounds? But it looks pretty good. But the proof of the pudding is in the tasting. Let's try it. Okay. So this is supposed to be Carnaby Street, based on Carnaby Market Street in England. But as you can see, it's all very empty. I'm not sure if it's got anything to do with England, but the rivers here seem to be bright green. It's kind of disgusting actually. You can see there's a lot of these red phone boxes around, which kind of look like England, I suppose. The thing that's the big difference is that there's not lots of porno lines on the wall in here, and it doesn't smell like hobo's piss. So it's about 10:30 and we're in the church, which is the centerpiece of the German town. This is actually a Catholic church. Catholicism is one of the 4 religions which is allowed here in China. The problem with the German town, which is why it wasn't really successful, is that it was considered a bit sterile. It was built the German Bauhaus style, which is kind of practical but a little bit sterile. This church feels a bit sterile too. It kind of smells very clean. From above, looks a little bit like a toilet. The other towns are a little bit more like fairy tale towns. You know, here everything is very scientific, very grounded. And that was probably to try and attract German businessmen who work in this area for Volkswagen and Audi. Something a little bit ominous about this church, and indeed this area in general, is about its architects. Each of the architectural firms that was employed to build these towns was the same nationality as the town they were building. Thames Town was built by Atkins, which is a British firm. The Scandinavian town was built by Swedish con. This one, though, a little bit ominous, is built by a German company called AS and Partners. Do you know what the AS is? Albert Speer. Does that name sound familiar to you? Albert Speer was the famous Nazi architect who designed many of the buildings for the Nazis during the Third Reich. So you could say that this church in this whole area was kind of designed by the kids of Nazis. Does this make this a Nazi town? Not exactly, but it is a bit sterile. Let's go and see if we can find anything a bit more friendly. I think it's a bit ominous that the cross seems to be upside down. I think maybe another issue here is that there's all this space, and the Chinese didn't really know what to do with all this space, so they just filled it up with crap, which is fairly common in most Chinese cities. 跳舞吗? And of course, it wouldn't be one of these towns if it didn't have a Starbucks, because Starbucks is the center of the world here.